Welcome to the first edition of the Perfect Vision podcast. My name is Nick Daza, and I'm a senior at Muhlenberg College. And joining me here today is my brother, Max Marcus.
Hello. Happy to be here.
So thank you for coming on the show, Max. I think this is something that we've been talking about doing for a long time.
Yeah,
And
certainly.
now we're finally pulling the trigger on it. So, I'll just talk about how we first met. We both go to school here together.
Yeah.
And the first day of college was literally how we met, in the
Very
bathroom.
first day. In the bathroom, in the most intimate of moments. We were just washing our hands. And,
said what's up to you. And
I was like,
said,
hey, I'm Max.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I'm Nick.
And we just happened to be the rooms next to each other.
The rooms next to each other. We happen to be neighbors. We're still as close as can be to this day. Much closer than we were then, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's funny, bro. People say, oh, you're not going to be friends with the same people senior year of college as freshman year. But, that has not been true for us. I feel like we've only grown closer.
Grown?
No, we glowed up. Come on. Let's be real.
We glowed up. Yeah, sure. No, I'd like to say so. No, definitely. I think the people that are supposed to be in your life, the people that are supposed to stay in your life, they're going to be there and they're going to stick around. And sometimes people are meant to be in your life for a few minutes, and sometimes they're meant to be in it for 20 years.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's really just about where you are and where they are and if you can grow together.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we both can say we have in common is just how we've grown over the last 4 years, because we're definitely not the same people we were when we got here.
Certainly not the same people we were, which brings us to why are we doing this? Why are we hopping on here? Why are you watching us?
You don't know us.
You don't know us?
You don't know
Maybe you
me.
do. We want to provide this podcast
to provide knowledge. That's really
maybe
it.
not provide knowledge, but provide an insight into how we've navigated our own individual experiences, and maybe
how we can help other people grow.
Yeah, maybe that will be a catalyst for your growth as the audience. Or maybe it's just a time for you to sit back and relax and take some time off of your work and just listen to some hooligans talk about nonsense. Maybe. We'll see. You take what you want from it.
Yeah.
That's life.
So, let's just get started. Where were we freshman year?
Where were we?
Who were we?
Literally where?
We could talk about how much we changed, not only in the course of 4 years, but in the course of 1 year, right?
Yeah.
So I still remember, bro, when we were over, this is a clear memory. We were walking, it was you, me, Kem, and Nelly, and we were walking on the hill by Benfer. And I remember saying, I felt like my freshman year, I changed more in that 1 year than I did in all 4 years of high school.
Truly. Yeah. I think I changed more in the first 2 months of college than I did maybe in 4 years of high school, because the environment is so different.
Exactly, bro.
It's so much less constricted. And that contrast, that stark contrast of being in an environment that is controlled by others and dictated by the wants and needs of others, whether it be teachers or parents, to an environment where you dictate your own.
Yeah, you're free. For the first time ever in your life, you're actually your own person. And it's kind of crazy because, you don't think about it. You don't think of yourself as, not free when you're in high school. But, you're always exposed or you're always supervised by somebody. You don't really have, you do at certain points. But for the most part, you're always around other people who are older than you. And like it or not, they're going to have some influence on the way that you think because, you're always listening to the people that are older than you. They're going to shape you into who you are.
And it's interesting because I don't know if what we had freshman year was freedom or was the illusion of freedom. Because,
I think you're right.
Because it was freedom, once again, dictated by us rebelling against everything we weren't given way back in high school.
Yeah.
And it's such a completely different experience to go from everything you want and everything you want to try and do being limited and having a cap on it to having no cap and no limits.
No cap.
And no cap. And therefore, you have the opportunity to rebel against the idea of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that's freedom. We thought that was freedom.
We did.
And it felt like it at the time, but in a way, we lost freedom to our vices, to our shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be real here. Like, we were boys since freshman year, so there were definitely a lot of extracurricular activities, a lot of degeneracies that took place within our freshman year. But it's, it's typical college things. Like, I don't think anybody can really say, like, oh, yeah, I went to college and I didn't do anything, like, when I was a freshman.
I certainly don't think we would have. I've said certainly 3 times now. Let's start a count.
I'm about to keep count.
Take a shot every time I say certainly, speaking of shenanigans. But I don't think we would be where we are now if we didn't allow those versions of ourselves to be set free, to be let loose.
You gotta
upon
lose
the
yourself
world
before you could find yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that means completely tearing down the foundations of who you perceive yourself to be, who you think you are, who I thought I was.
Yeah, I mean, like, bro, just think about it. Like, who did we think we were freshman year? That's the question. Who did we think we were, like, when we came in here? Because
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either. But it's just like, it's funny looking back on it now. Because we did. That's what I mean. Like, looking back on it now, like, we thought we were like I thought I was a man, you thought you were the man. Like, we thought we were hot shit. And like, when we look back on it now, it's like, wow, like, we were so naive in a way.
Yeah.
We really thought we had the world all figured out.
Yeah, and part of that is we accepted a lot of the aspects of the way we were as who we are, and not who we are based upon others, based upon what we've been taught, what we've been conditioned
to believe.
To believe. Yeah.
And I think that we thought a lot of those aspects of ourselves were unchanging. Like, this is how I am. This is the way I've always been. This is who I'm going to be forever. And when we look back on it now, it's like, wow, like, I'm not that same person.
Yeah.
I think I've, like, evolved, like, 2-3 people past that person. From past who we were.
I mean, so I think about how I came into college and I had certain ideas about empathy for others and about how to be a good person, but I didn't know why I wanted to be a good person. I knew I was trying to be a good person because that's what my mom taught me.
Yeah.
Because that's what my parents taught me. They said, be a good boy. And I said, okay, that's my morals. That's my morals. But it wasn't.
You assumed that it was yours.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't realize that it was put on you by somebody else.
Exactly. And even if it was a good thing put on me by somebody else, it could never be fully understood within my being until the foundation placed by somebody else was torn away. And so my idea maybe of my parents was torn away and changed so that I could question if the things they taught me were even true, if they were even worth believing in.
And if they were truly your beliefs or not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I can definitely relate to that. I mean, like, growing up for me, I was raised in, like, an immigrant household, a Hispanic household. So, like, my parents were very religious. And it wasn't until I left college that I kind of, like, or I left high school, I mean, and went to college, that I realized that I kind of had to not fight that struggle, but, like, make that decision for myself. Is this something that I truly believe, like, for me, or is this just something that was put onto me by other people?
And that's scary because, like, we hold on to our beliefs, we hold on to our ideals, we hold on to these things because we think they're us.
Yeah, we think that's what shapes who we are.
No matter what that is, whether it's a way we feel like we should navigate the world, or if it's an identity that we've adopted, you as a wrestler, me as a pro wrestler, these things, like, we took on these identities and we go, okay, I am this. I am M1 Abrams. I'm a character. Like, I'm this thing.
Yeah.
And this is my role. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautifully painful and beautifully liberating thing simultaneously to have our identities and our shit, like, stripped away, deconstructed, torn to pieces, everything just obliterated.
And let's talk about how that happened, because it happened for both of us. Yeah. And that's what's kind of crazy. It happened for both of us, and we both evolved from it.
Yeah.
We're both, like, different people because of it.
Yeah, because the essence of who you are is always going to be there.
Yeah.
It's never going to change. The truth of your being, if there is such a thing, is always going to be there underneath everything we tell ourselves, everything that we've been told is us, that's not going to change. Everything else might change, but the important stuff is never going to change. It's always going to be there. And the people that really recognize who you are for that essence, for that aspect of your being, that truth, they're always going to be there for you, because they're willing to accept that the other parts are going to change, that they're going to evolve, and that they're not going to stay the same. And that's not just okay, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being human, bro. Like, you're not going to be the same person you were from the moment you were born to the time you're 10, 20 years old. Like, you get to go through different versions of yourself. You get to evolve into different forms of just existence. Like, literally being who you are is not going to be constant throughout different points of your life. And so, like, for you, like, you know, you were big into the pro wrestling. Like, talk a little bit about that, and then how that identity kind of got deconstructed, but in a good way.
So I got into pro wrestling when I was 15. A little late to start watching wrestling. I was like flipping through the channels one night. I was like, oh, wrestling's stupid. Guys fake fighting. I got to watch it. And I watched it, and my mind was blown, because it's this mix of athleticism and combat and this interaction with the fans and this energy exchange and this representation of struggle on a core level. And it incorporated aspects of sports and aspects of acting, which were two things that I loved before then. And I went, wow, this isn't stupid. This is something I want to do for the rest of my life.
I think that's something we bonded over, like, when we first got to know each other in college. Because, like, I was big into WWE before I started wrestling. So I used to know I had all the DVDs, bro. Me and my cousin used to, like, jump off the stair onto the trampoline, like, pretending we were in the WWE.
And I started training when I was 15, and I worked my butt off. I said, this is my dream. This is what I'm going to do. And everyone was like, you're crazy. You're not going to do this. And I wanted to do it not just for me, but to show everybody that you can do anything. And you pick something, you can do it. You just got to put the time and effort and heart into it. So I get to college, my right before college, I have my debut as a pro wrestler. I start touring around, wrestling at different shows, and I was living the dream. I was loving it. And then I'd say junior year came around, beginning of junior year of college, and I was scheduled to have a big opportunity within the main company I was working with. I was scheduled to have a big spot on the upcoming shows, and I was so excited, but I was excited for the wrong reasons looking back. I was able to, well, no, I wasn't able to identify at the time. I didn't realize that what I had loved about it in that moment, once I started realizing, oh, I'm going to get an opportunity. Maybe I'll be champion this year. Maybe I'll have that. It became more about being champion. It became more about my ego.
And less about what you loved.
And less about what I loved about it. And so the universe said, hold the phone. Then it just ripped it away from me. And the company I was working with shut down due to some personal reasons within the company. And I wasn't even upset to the extent that I would have been if I still loved wrestling the way I did when I first started. Because it happened. I got the phone call, and I was a little upset, but I was upset because I was like, oh, this was supposed to be my big year. I was supposed to be champion. I was supposed to, even if I wasn't supposed to be champion, I don't know that. But I was like, oh, I was going to get these things. I was going to have these things, and that was going to validate what I was doing.
Who you are.
Who I am, my identity,
And I think that's something I could definitely relate to with wrestling as well. Like, it's funny because, like, the timing was similar for both of us. The way that we were tested and the way that, like, our conceptions of ourselves and what made us were deconstructed, really.
So like, for me, how was stuff taken away for you? I want to
So this. With me, you know, like, that whole summer going into junior year, I stayed here on campus. I was training. I was, like, focused, bro. I was like, I'm going to win an NCAA title. I'm going to be an All-American. And 2 days into the season, the second day of practice, out of nowhere, boom. Quick thing in practice, I tear my MCL, tear my meniscus. I find out I'm out for 6 to 8 weeks. And, like, that summer, too, like, I went to Colombia. I trained with the Olympic League for my city. You know, I got some international experience, which was something that, like, I had always dreamed about, but it had never, like, happened until it happened. You know what I mean? So then I'm facing this injury, And at first I was like, why me? Like, why, God? Like, I worked so hard for this. Why are you taking it away from me? You know? And then I kind of accepted, like, oh, this is a test of faith. Like, do I really believe or not? And at the time, I think something that we've talked about, me and you both, is that, like, I am not a very patient person, or at least I've become more patient
You
throughout the
definitely become
years.
more patient, but you didn't start out that way.
Exactly.
That's
So,
for sure.
like, I was really impatient. You know, I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted it now.
Yeah.
And so, like, getting hurt kind of like put a stop to the timeline that I had in my head, and it kind of like forced me, like literally forced me to accept that like it wasn't going to happen on my terms.
Yeah. And even when we think, like, a lot of times things look like they're falling exactly the way we've perceived them and exactly the way they're supposed to. Like, for me, for you, it was all of that. For me, I was like, oh, I was going to get these opportunities, and then they got taken away, and I was so confused. I was like, was this not the plan? Was I not supposed to get these things now? I worked
You
for
start
them.
questioning everything.
But the biggest question I asked in that moment, and I remember I walked outside and I looked up at the sky and I was like, in a romantic movie moment,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what's next? And that was so powerful because I didn't succumb to, oh, I don't get to have these things. It was like, okay, I'm gonna trust. What do you have for me?
Mm-hmm.
And that semester, I started taking Acting 1. I started taking Intro to Movie Making, and I fell in love with acting and directing and filmmaking in the ways that I used to love pro wrestling. And the things that I really, really enjoyed about pro wrestling, which was the connecting, was the entertaining, the storytelling. Oh, the storytelling. And I had lost those things in pro wrestling. And so the universe was like, all right, let's put this away for now. Let's help you rediscover those things that are really important. And it worked out better than it ever could have because now I'm so much happier than I was in that moment.
Yep.
And I'm not necessarily chasing the things I want for the wrong reasons, or at least when I start to have those moments where my ego begins to take over, I can recognize it better, and I can realize that this is not what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
This is not why I started doing this.
And it's funny, bro. It's funny that you mentioned that like movie moment where you like look up at God and you're like, what's next?
Yeah.
Because like I had like a very similar thing when I was going through my experience too. It was like the day I found out that I was gonna be out for like a long time, I went outside and I took a walk, and it was like the winter, but I needed like to clear my head, and I came back inside. I sat down in my dorm room and I started praying. And like I was like, God, like whatever this is for, like whatever this is about, like I just pray that like you teach me what you wanted to teach me. And no sooner did I get done praying that I have the Bible app on my phone, and it has like the daily verse, and I get the notification from the daily verse just like that. And it was 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight.
For we walk by faith, not by sight.
And that was literally, it felt like God was like answering my prayer. Like it really did.
And I want to point out this is not a religious podcast.
Right.
This podcast isn't about religion. But spirituality is an integral part of the growth that we've experienced in our time here. And it's something that we've really experienced together as a team and as friends and as brothers. And something we've been able to, like, I think if there is such a thing as a divine essence or the universe or God or whatever you want to call a higher power or a greater whatever
you want to call it,
whatever you want to call
everybody believes something different. You know, we're not here to like conform you to our beliefs, but we're only speaking on our experiences.
Yeah, and maybe that'll give you some insight about yourself.
Exactly. And so like I said, like I got that notification. I was like, wow, like that was what like really sparked that journey of me kind of like looking for God as something that like I actually believed in instead of just something that like my family believed in that had been like forced on me.
Yeah.
And so like I came back second match back from my knee injury, I sprained my ankle. It was like a grade like 2 or 3. Like it wasn't just like a little twist. Like it was like a
funny guy.
Yeah. So I was like, that's when, bro, I felt like God was playing a cruel joke on me. I was like, why are you doing this to me?
But
like,
you're laughing now.
I'm laughing now because
and that
the irony of the situation,
awesome,
bro. The irony of the situation is like when it happened, I was so mad at God.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I mean, right now I'm taking a redshirt year, so I have another year of eligibility. I'm gonna be here competing next year as well. So I'm gonna be here for a 5th year. And the irony of the whole situation is that like once I got healthy and I was able to train, since then I've had so many more opportunities. Well, not only that, but like the situation itself taught me so much. It made me grateful for things that I had lost sight of, right? So when being able to wrestle was just a luxury and it was just something that was there, I didn't really value the opportunity to do it. It was just something to do. And all I cared about was winning and titles and accomplishments and all that.
Isn't that funny? That those are the things.
Exactly.
It's like over time when we get used to something, when it becomes, oh, okay, we've done this a lot.
Yeah.
Like we lose our gratitude for the thing, and we start to search for the validation of the thing. We start to search for the rewards for doing the thing when the thing in itself is the reward.
That is the reward. Exactly, bro. And like, so for me, like when I got hurt, it forced me to really value the opportunity to compete, like to be thankful for it. Like I told myself, like when I sprained my ankle, I was like, all right, you know what, whatever. When I do get the chance to compete, I'm going to value every second that I'm on that mat.
And that's better than any title.
Exactly. And since then, like I've really been thankful for every time that God lets me step on the mat, every time that I'm healthy. Because, dude, like that whole year, like lower leg injury after lower leg injury, I was basically in a boot and then a brace for like an entire year of college. Like I was never walking on my own 2 feet. And that for me was also like an ego check because it was like everybody looks at you, they ask what happened. And I don't like that. I didn't like that feeling. But fast forward to now. Like,
whoa. Let's not fast forward real quick. Why didn't you like that? Because I think there's something really important there about how others see us and about how we identify with ourselves.
Yeah. So for me, obviously, I didn't like the fact that people were seeing me in a vulnerable position. I didn't like looking like somebody who was hurt or like whatever. But also, it was just like I didn't like people feeling sorry for me. I've never liked that. And so it was like people would always ask, but I knew that they were asking not because they genuinely cared about me or like my well-being, but more because they were just curious, like, why is he wearing that big thing on his leg? So like it got to the point where eventually, bro, I would get so mad when people ask me because I'm like so sick of like person after person that like I don't talk to you on a regular basis. Why are you coming up to me? Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
So like it really got to me. But fast forward now, like being injured taught me to value the sport. And it also showed me that, like, I have an identity outside of wrestling. Yeah. And that was something that was tough for me to come to terms with because I've been doing it for so long. Yeah. Like, I've literally been wrestling since I was in 5th grade. And now I've realized that, like, even if I don't have wrestling, like, I still am my own person. And I still have qualities that I can be proud of and that I can be happy with even outside of the sport. So, like, now, like, I've had like a lot of blessings with wrestling. Like I was able to go to Puerto Rico and compete my first international tournament back in October. And I took 3rd over there. And that was like a huge blessing for me because the day I competed was exactly 1 year from the day I tore my MCL. Like it was like I woke up.
Life is funny.
Exactly, bro. Like I woke up, I checked the calendar and I was like, no way. And that was one of those moments where I was like, wow, like it's not going to happen on my time. It's going to happen on God's time. Yeah. And so being able to let go of that tie to my identity of like wrestling being who I am and just accepting this is something I love. This is something I do because I love, but it's not the end all be all has opened up a lot more opportunities for me in life in general.
Yeah. It's a piece of you, but it's not all of you.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of comfort in identifying with a thing, identifying with a role. But, you know, getting back to where we were earlier, all of these roles, all of these things that we love to do, they're all here in a way to teach us who we can be and about ourselves, like about the things that we value, about the things we love, about the things that light a fire under our ass, and about the things that make us so mad.
Yeah.
And that's, at the end of the day, like, because we get to learn from these experiences and once in a while really enjoy them. Like, that's a gift at the end of the day.
And that's the beauty of life, bro. Like, everything we go through is a learning experience.
Yeah, it truly is. It truly is. And if you're open, if you're willing to check your ego at the door for even just a minute, maybe that learning experience will allow you to grow, allow me to grow, allow us to grow. And not just as individuals, but as a collective.
Yeah.
And maybe the world will grow and the universe will grow.
Exactly.
And
that's really our hope with the podcast. It's you know, sharing knowledge and helping people grow. So thank you for joining us on this first edition, and hopefully we'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah. Love and abundance.